Hello everybody, it's Holly from Geneva Academy. Patrick Phillips and I are going to speak about HIV/AIDS. So, Patrick, I've heard you talk about how HIV isn't the cause of AIDS. So, is there anything that could cause you to change your mind?
Well, there's pressing and urgent questions that the officialdom needs to address, and their failure to do so shows the internal disqualifying nature of the official account. For example, how can somebody be HIV positive on Monday and HIV negative on Tuesday at the same clinic with the same sample of blood? Or how can a positive HIV test in Argentina suddenly become a negative HIV test in Brazil and indeterminate in England and Germany? Being labeled as HIV positive has dramatic consequences in the lives of individuals. And while the test kits themselves say not intended for diagnostic purposes, they were originally developed as a means to screen blood for blood donations, the doctors convey to their patients a certainty. Those that do follow-up testing often find that their HIV status varies depending on the day of the month, the clinic that's used, or the mood of the lab technician interpreting the test at the time, or even the country they're in.
Okay, so how many people are said to be living with this virus worldwide?
Well, that's interesting. Good question.
Thanks.
It's said to hover around 40 million, and it's confined to risk groups. The problem is we only test risk groups, so it seems to show a correlation with certain behavior. But every time they do truly random testing of the population, there's huge parts of the world that show up HIV positive for no apparent reason. Tribes in the Amazon that are 13% HIV positive, or housewives and little children. Are these false positives? We don't know. We don't even know what a false positive test looks like because there's no standardized criteria for how to interpret these tests, and they've never been compared against a gold standard. A lot of people don't realize that the HIV tests don't detect the virus. They detect antibodies. But the antibodies aren't even specific to HIV. And we all were taught that if you have antibodies, you're immune. If you have antibodies, you have viral immunity. But in this case, supposedly not. Now, you asked me, is there anything that could cause me to change my mind? But
exactly.
It's almost even worse if you accept the official account at face value and accept the validity of these tests, because then when we get glimpses of the real, actual numbers of those living with HIV worldwide, is triple or quadruple the 40 million. We're talking about at least 200 million worldwide. We don't know because they don't do random testing.
Okay, so why would it matter anyway if the tests are false positives or not? In that case, the people just don't go on to develop AIDS.
Well, that's interesting because when somebody is labeled as HIV positive, a whole set of protocols kick into place, medical and legal protocols that make it very difficult, if not impossible, to resist. And a big part of that is the medication, which is killer medication, and it provokes all the symptoms of immune deficiency.
Okay, exactly. I totally. So, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, I've known people that were diagnosed as HIV positive in the 80s and 90s. Dozens and dozens of people have written to me.
Exactly.
From the Spanish-speaking world.
Actually, this was my next question. So, have you ever known anybody who was diagnosed HIV positive and didn't take medication? So, who lived a normal life?
Well, they say that it's the medication that extends the life, but all the evidence points to exactly the opposite, because those who are living with HIV, supposedly HIV, but that are healthy, are the ones that have never taken the medication, while they've watched all their companions jump on the antiviral drug bandwagon and die.
So this is the end of today's episode. We're looking forward to seeing you soon and see you next time. Thank you.